Hello there, this is Mr. Clark. We're going to go over number 9. I'm doing this live in my period 1 class. And so if I make a mistake, I'm not going to stop. Right, Randall? There's no stopping now. Okay. So first thing we're going to do here to solve, we're going to solve for x. We're going to label the sides, hypotenuse, opposite, and adjacent. Step 1. So the hypotenuse side is always directly across from the right angle. So make sure you put hypotenuse there. Right. Got that? You writing that down there, Curtis? Write that down. Hypotenuse. All right. Now we're using this 37. The opposite side is always directly across from the angle we're using. So that's the opposite side. Opposite side. And then the other side's got to be the adjacent side. All right, make sure you're labeling all your sides. Got that back there? Amir, you labeling that side? The side? Good. Okay. Okay, so now we have them labeled. So we can go to step 2. Step 2 is determine the trig ratio to use. We're going to use the adjacent side has a number by it, and the hypotenuse is the one we need to find. And as you can see here, cosine is the one that uses adjacent and hypotenuse. So we're going to be using cosine. All right. How's that make you feel?
What?
We're going to use cosine. All right. So we're going to do our equation cosine. We're going to put our angle that we're using in there. Our angle is 37 degrees. That goes in there. That's going to equal something over something. And as you can see from the information here, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. The adjacent side is 11. And the hypotenuse is x, because that's what we're looking for. There we go. Cosine 37 equals 11 over x. Now, this is one of those where we have x on the bottom of the fraction. So when we have x on the bottom of the fraction, we need to swap the x with the cosine of 37. All right, so these are going to get swapped. And it's going to end up looking like this. The x is now going to be over here. And that's going to equal, the 11's in the same place. (11) divided by cosine 37. Right? Get that line a little longer. There you go. 11 divided by cosine 37. And let me make this a little larger. All right, so that's what we're going to have. That's the equation we're going to solve right there. Now it's time to put in your calculator. So you're going to press in your calculator, you're going to put 11 divided by, press cosine 37, and press enter. And it'll look like this, 11 divided by cosine 37. And then that's going to equal, I got a 13.77, so I'm going to round it up to 13.8. All right. So the hypotenuse is going to be 13.8. There we go. All right, we're moving on to number 10, which is the second one on your worksheet. All right, so again, we have this angle. So we're doing the hypotenuse, which is directly across from the right angle always. All right, that's the hypotenuse. We're going to do the opposite side, which is directly across from the 32 because we're using that angle. That's going to be the opposite. And we're doing the, and this is the adjacent side because that's the only side left, ADJ for adjacent. So that is step one, label the sides. Got all the sides labeled. All right, step two, determine the trig ratio to use. Well, we're going to be using, we have a number here because we can use the adjacent side. There's no number on hypotenuse. We're not using that. And we have the x over here. So we're using the opposite and the adjacent. And if you look over here, tangent uses the opposite and adjacent. So we'll be using tangent. And then we're going to go tan. We're going to put the angle in. We're using the 32-degree angle. That's going to equal something over something. Fraction line here. And we have tan is opposite over adjacent. Opposite side is x, so that goes on top of the fraction. Adjacent side is 13. That goes on the bottom of the fraction. There we go. So now we have our equation. Let me, get this a little bigger. There we go. That's our equation. Now, this time we have 13, we have x on top of the fraction. Now, you know that's x divided by 13. And you know what the opposite divide is. What's the opposite? Multiply. We're going to multiply by 13 on both sides. So, I'll put this in front of the x here. That's 13 times x. You know if it's just 13x, that's 13 times x. And I'm going to put a 13 in front of this too, if I can squeeze it in here. Let me see. That's 13 times tangent 32. So you know these are going to cancel. These 13s cancel. And then we're going to be left with something equals x. Equals x. Not bigger. All right. Okay, so now you can put in your calculator. What equals x? We'll find out here. What's it doing here? I don't know what's going on there. So we're going to put 13 tan 32 in the calculator. 13. You can put times. You don't have to press times. It will multiply if you don't press times. You just put tan 32. 13 times tan 32. And I got 8.12. So I'll round that to 8.1. All right, so we're going to get 8.1. Let me see if I can get this in here. 8.1. There we go. All right, so that's number 10. All right, so now we're going to the back side of the paper on number 17, because this is different. This one says solve each triangle. That means you have to find the missing angle and both missing sides. So let's do the angle first, because the angle is pretty simple to find. All you need to do, now you know there's 180 degrees in the angles in a triangle add up to 180 degrees. So you take 180, subtract, this one's 90, right? So it's 90. And then you subtract 62, and you put that in your calculator. All right. And you can put that in your calculator. Randall, what's 180 minus 90 minus 62?
28.
Oh, you didn't even need to use your calculator, did you? 28. Nice. Yeah, so all these 90 plus 62 plus 28 would equal 180. So this has got to be 28 degrees. All right, so you can write that in there in the triangle. Here it is. This one's 28 degrees. Don't forget to put your degree mark like that. Oops, what's going on here? Got the flashlight. What's that? I'm going to get rid of that flashlight. All right, let me see if I can work with this a little bit. What's going on here? Okay. So there's 28 degrees. Okay, so we found the angle. Now we need to find both sides. So I'm going to start off using the 62-degree angle. So I'm going to mark my sides. So this is the, hang on, let me make this a little larger. Oops. Okay, there we go. All right, so over here we have the hypotenuse because it's directly across from the right angle. And then we're going to mark that hypotenuse, HY, YP. All right, there's that. We're using the 62-degree angle, so that's the opposite side over here. It's on the opposite side of the triangle. There's the opposite, OPP. The other side has to be the adjacent side. All right, there's that. All right, so now what we're going to do is figure out what we're going to find, and I'm going to find the adjacent side first. All right, so I'm going to use, I got opposite and adjacent, right? Because we have the number on the opposite. So opposite and adjacent is tangent. So I'm going to put tan in the angle. I'm using 62. That's going to equal opposite over adjacent. The opposite side is 22.6. And the adjacent side will be x because we're looking for that side. There we go. Let me make this a little larger. There we go. Okay, so once we have that, we have to figure out how to solve it. Now, what we have here is x on the bottom of the fraction. And if you look back at your previous examples, when x is on the bottom of the fraction, we switch these two, right? We swap these. That's a simple process to solve that one. So we're going to switch these. Tangent 62 is going down there. X is going up. Oh, that's not good. X is going up there. All right, so then we rewrite it. X is on the left side. 22.6 is still on top of the fraction. And we're going to have X. Now, yeah. And then we're going to have, excuse me, tangent of 62 is going to be on the bottom of the fraction. All right. We make that larger too. Okay, here we go. So now we're going to put this in our calculator. Let's see, did I do that? Okay, there's that. And then oh, I lost it. Let's see. Oh, there it is. All right. All right, so all we do now is put that in the calculator. So we do 22.6 divided by tan 62. Let's see if I got it right. And that's what I got. So I can round to, well, that'll round to 12. All right. Round 12. So it looks like the adjacent side is 12. So we did the opposite and adjacent. Oops. All right, so that's going to be 12. Now we found the adjacent side. Okay, so we found the angle. We found the adjacent side. We still need to find the hypotenuse. All right. So I'm going to set up another equation. I'm going to use the adjacent. Let's say the adjacent is 12, so that's nice. We'll do adjacent and hypotenuse. You could do the opposite and hypotenuse. Either way is fine. So I'm still using 62 degrees. Adjacent over hypotenuse is going to be cosine. So I'm going to set up cosine 62 degrees. It's going to equal the cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So the adjacent side is 12. The hypotenuse, we don't know what it is. We'll put an X there because we don't know what that is now. We're looking for that. So hypotenuse is X. Okay, so it looks like X is on the bottom of the fraction again. So we are going to need to swap them like we did in the other one. Let me make that a little larger. Okay, there we go. Now remember, if it's on the bottom, you swap them. If it's like this one, right, you would divide by whatever's on the bottom. Or sorry, multiply. So this one you end up multiplying because X is on top, X is on the bottom, you end up dividing. So let's swap these. Cosine 62 goes down there, X goes over here. So X is there. And over here we still have a fraction. Uh, 12 stays on top. It doesn't move at all. Cosine 62 goes on the bottom. Okay, so now there's only one thing left to do, and that is to calculate this. All right, oops, uh-oh, I can't move that. All right, so we just need to calculate it. We need to put it in our calculator. 12 divided by cosine 62. All right, and there it is. The folks at home can you maybe see that on my calculator. 12 divided by cosine 62. I got 25.56. I'll round that 5 up to a 6 because there's a 6 after it, 0.56. So that'll be 25.6. So the hypotenuse is 25.6. There you go. So now you've solved the entire triangle.